Welcome back to On the Same Page. We are on Daf Lamed Aleph, Amud Aleph, 31a of Maseches Kiddushin. We are starting from the very bottom line of the page. Still talking about Kibud Avaim, honoring parents. The Gemara says, Tani Avimi Breid Rabbi Abo. Avimi, the son of Rabbi Abo, taught, Yesh ma'achel la'aviv pisyoni v'tardo min olam. You can have a person who feeds his father the best food. Pisyoni is pheasant, that's pronounced correctly, this type of bird that's very delicious. And despite the fact that he is treating his father so well by giving him such food, it is tardo min olam, it removes him from the world. He loses his world to come. He's punished as a result. V'yesh matrino berechayim u'mevio l'chayim olam haba. And you can have a son who has his father grind the mill, and so he puts his father to work, and it brings him to olam haba to do that. So Avim is saying it can depend on the circumstances, whether something that seems to be good could not be as good, and something that seems to be bad could actually be good. Rashi explains that even if he's feeding his father the best food, but if he does it in like a stingy manner, Rashi says if he has tsaros ayin, if he mutters under his breath or things like that, makes the father feel uncomfortable about it, so then that's not very helpful. It's not honoring his father, and therefore that can take him out of this world, make him lose his or take him out of olam haba, make him lose his portion in the world to come, as opposed to somebody could be making his father work the mill, but if he speaks really nicely to him and explains that we need this, I'm doing my part, we really need you to help, otherwise we won't be able to feed the family or whatever it might be, but he speaks in an honored and respectful way, so then it could be that he's doing something good, and he can merit olam haba as a result. Rashi and Tosfos both quote from the Yerushalmi that the Jerusalem Talmud brings this statement, but it actually brings a story connected with each of these things. The Yerushalmi says, in the first case, there was a fellow who was feeding his father pisyoni, again, this bird, this pheasant, and one time his father said, "Where did you get all this from? Where did you get it all from? I can't, you have so much." So the son responded, "Old man, why do you care? Grind and eat." So he responded in a very, not grinding the millstone, grind with your teeth, just eat. Don't ask questions. Why do you care, old man? And he responded in a very disrespectful way. So there he's feeding his father well, but it's removing him from his portion of the world to come. And the other story was a little different than what I explained previously. According to the Yerushalmi, the story was with the grinding the mill, that there was a fellow who had a mill and he would grind it, and his father was older, and the king of the land sent for the father to come and serve him, to come work, put him, make him a slave or something like that. And the son said, "Father, you grind the mill, and I'll go instead of you." And so there he had his father grind the mill, but really he was doing his father a great service and a great honor. So that's how the Yerushalmi brings these two statements accompanied by a story. Gemara says on the top of Lamed Aleph Amud Beis 31b, Amar Rabbi Abo, Kigon Avimi Bri Kayim Mitzvahs Kibud. You should fulfill the mitzvah of Kibud the way that my son Avimi does. Now, Avimi, the son of Rabbi Abo, was the author of the previous statement. He wasn't necessarily the one in those stories, but he was the one who made that statement. And now, actually, Rabbi Abo says, my son Avimi, he excels in the mitzvah of honoring his father. Chamisha bani samchi habale. He had 5 sons who were samchi. They had smicha, they were all rabbis. So Rabbi Abo, son Avimi, had 5 sons. And b'chayav, and they were all born in the grandfather's life, so in the life of Rabbi Abo. V'ki asi Rabbi Abo, and when Rabbi Abo would come to visit, Kari Abava, and he would call by the gate, Rahit ve'azel pasachle. Avimi would run and open it for him. Now Avimi had 5 sons, 5 capable sons, but he himself would be the one to run to serve his father to open the gate. Ve'amar, he would say, in, yes, I'm coming, Adamat Hasim, until he got there. So he would reassure his father, and he would say, I'm coming, and this was how he honored his father. He himself was the one to run to open the door. Yom Echad, one day, Amar Le, his father said to him, so Rabbi Abo said to Avimi, Ashkayan Maya, can you get me a drink of water? Ada Aisile, before Avimi arrived with the water, Nimnem, his father fell asleep. The grandfather, Rabbi Abo, fell asleep. So, what did Avimi do? Gachin, he bent down, and Kayale, and he stood by him ad itar, until he woke up. So he just waited there. He asked for the water, so he waited, and he waited for his father to wake up to give him the water. So again, this tremendous demonstration of honor. His father asked for water, he's going to bring it, he's going to wait there until his father is ready. Istaya Milse, Vidarash Avimi Mizmar La'asaf. The Gemara says that while he was waiting there, so he had this great siyata d'shmaya, this great heavenly assistance, that sort of an epiphany to be able to explain either a certain chapter in Tehillim or this verse of Mizmor La'asaf. It suddenly came to him and seemingly in the merit of the honor that he was giving his father, and he was standing there. He merited to be able to interpret this chapter of Tehillim. Amarle Rav Yaakov bar Ravua le'Abaye. Rav Yaakov bar Ravua said to Abaye, he really posed a question. He said, Kigon ana, someone like me, de'ad de'asina mi be'rav, before I get home from the Beis Medrash, from the yeshiva, Abba madli li kasa, my father pours a cup for me, ve'ima mazgali, and my mother mixes the wine for me. She dilutes it, she gets it ready. So my parents are serving me when I come home from the Beis Medrash. Heichi Yavid, what should I do? So this is what Rav Yaakov bar Ravua asked Abaye. So Amar Le, Abaye said, Me'imcha kabil, you should accept it from your mother if she wants to give it to you. Perhaps because he himself was a Talmid Chacham, she was serving a Torah scholar. Umeyavucha lo tikabil, but don't accept it from your father. Dekivan de bar Torahu chol shadaite. Since he himself is a bar Torah, he's a Talmid Chacham, he's a scholar, he might get chol shadaite. He might get literally like his mind will be weakened, but he'll be upset. Perhaps he'll be he'll get a little upset. Why? Because he himself is deserving of honor. And if you allow your father to honor you rather than you honoring your father, besides that he's your father, he's also a Torah scholar. You may be a Torah scholar, but your father is both a Torah scholar and your father. And if you allow him to honor you, he may end up feeling upset or just disappointed, and therefore you should be the one honoring him. Rabbi Tarfon Havaleahi Ima. Rabbi Tarfon had a mother. It seems like it was either his mother or some have a version that says Savta, grandmother. If it was his mother, she was old. Some have Ima Zekena, he had an elderly mother. Dikol Emas Tabas Baya Mesa Klupuria. But in any event, wherever she was, whenever she wanted to go to bed, so Rabbi Tarfon would serve her by Gachin Visalekla. He would bend over and carry her up. So maybe perhaps on his back, he would carry his mother to her bed. This elderly woman. V'kol emas tabas nachas, and whenever she would want to get off the bed, nachta iluya, she would get down on top of him. So he would help her onto the bed, lift her up, and he would help her down from the bed. Asa v'kamishtabach be'midrasha. He came and was praising him. See, again, the simple reading at least is that he was praising himself in the Beis Medrash. Some understand, I think, that she praised him, but somebody was singing his praises for his the way that he treated his mother. Amrilei, so the other people in the Beis Medrash, in the study hall, they said to him, "Dayan lo higata lechatzi kibud." You haven't even gotten to half the level, of really truly honoring your mother. That's nothing, they said. The fact that you you help her into her bed, help her out. Zarka arniki befanecha liyam velo kum zarka arniki befanecha liyam velo hichlamta. Did it ever happen that she threw your wallet into the water, into the sea, and you didn't embarrass her? That would be a sign of true honor of your mother. If she did something, caused you a great loss, and you still didn't react, and you didn't embarrass her, shame her, that would be a show of honor to your mother. That's what they responded to him. Rav Yosef, ki avashama kol kara di'ime, Rav Yosef, when he would hear the footsteps of his mother, Amar, he would say, Ekum mikamei shchina da asya. I'm going to stand up before the Shekhinah, before Hashem's presence that is coming. Now, it wasn't Hashem coming, it was his mother, but this seems to be, recalling the Gemara we learned previously, that when a person honors their parents, they are also honoring Hashem. Hashem says, it's as if they honor me. This person is honoring his creators, his parents, and if I was there, they would honor me too. So there's this association between parents and God, and that they're all partners in creation. So when he would hear his mother coming, he would stand up and say, oh, the Shekhinah, God's presence is coming. Amar Rabbi Yochanan said, Ashrei mi shelo chama'an. Fortunate is the person who lo chama'an. The exact translation, I'm not sure. It means somebody who doesn't have parents. Is fortunate on a certain level. Obviously, it's very unfortunate, but to a certain degree, saying it's fortunate. In what sense? Because the mitzvah of honoring parents is very difficult. It's a very challenging mitzvah, and Rabbi Yochanan said somebody who doesn't have the opportunity, but also doesn't have the responsibility, is fortunate in a certain sense. And Rabbi Yochanan was probably speaking in this way because he was putting a positive light on his own situation. He grew up without any parents. The Gemara says, Rabbi Yochanan, ki avavraso imo meis aviv. When his mother became pregnant, his father died. So his father died even before he was born. Yolato, and when she gave birth, meisa imo, his mother died. So Rabbi Yochanan grew up without parents. And perhaps that's why he put this positive spin on it, though he said it's such a hard mitzvah that I'm fortunate in one way that I don't have to fulfill this, I don't have the responsibility of the difficult mitzvah of honoring parents. Dechein Abaye. The Gemara says the same was true for Abaye. Abaye also grew up without any parents. Says the Gemara, Eini, is that so? V'ha'amar Abaye, but didn't Abaye say, all over Shas, all over the Gemara we have that Abaye says, Amra li aim, my mother told me. So how could it be that his mother told him if he grew up without a mother? So the Gemara says, Hahi meirabim se havai. That wasn't his mother. That was the woman who raised him, who was like a mother to him. The woman who raised him, he would quote her and say, Amra li aim, my mother told me. But she wasn't actually his mother, his blood mother. Rav Asi had an elderly mother. His mother was elderly. Amrale, she said to him, Ba'ina tachshiting, I'd like some jewelry. Avadla. So he got her some. Ba'ina gavra. She said, I want to get married again. I need a husband. Na'ayin lach. He said, I will look into it for you. I'll go look for a shidduch for you. So he's honoring his mother's requests. Ba'ina gavra deshapir kabasach. Then she said, I want a husband who's as handsome as you, who's as nice looking as you. So now, Rabbi Asi, he realized that these requests were, number one, getting a little bit out of hand, but also that maybe his mother was no longer fully with it at this point, and it would be very difficult to continue to honor her. So he left her v'azal Eretz Yisrael, and he left. I guess he was in Babel, in Babylonia. He went to Israel. Shama dika azal abasrei. He heard that she was actually following him there. He heard that she decided to follow him to Eretz Yisrael. Asal l'kamed Rabbi Yochanan. So he came to Rabbi Yochanan. Amar lei, he said to him, Mahu latzeis me'eretz l'chutz ha'aretz. Now that I live in Eretz Yisrael, am I allowed to leave Eretz Yisrael? Am I allowed to leave Israel? What is the halacha? In general, there's halacha, a person's not supposed to leave Israel. So, at least once they settle there, they shouldn't move out. So he said, what's the story? Am I allowed to leave Israel? Amar lei, aser. So Rabbi Yochanan said, it's aser, you're not allowed to leave Israel. Likras imamah. He said, what about to greet my mother? So now, actually, apparently, it seems that he wasn't trying to run away from her at this point. He was now, if she's following him, he wanted to go out and greet her and help her come. So he wanted to know if he could leave Israel to go and meet her and help her. Amar lei, eini yodea. So Rabbi Yochanan said, I'm not sure. I don't know. Esrach porta, let me wait a little bit and I'll try to figure out the answer. Are you allowed to leave to go greet your mother? So Hadar Asa. So then Rabbi Asi came back. Amar lei, so Rabbi Yochanan said to him, Asi nisratzis latzis. If you want to go, if you want to go, you can. And he said, or he says, I see that you really want to go. Hamakom yachzircho l'shalom. Hamakom, God, the omnipresent, should return you in peace. Okay, so that's what he told him. So he wasn't sure what he meant by that, I think. It sounds maybe like a blessing, maybe like a curse, because that might be something like, you deserve to die. So he wasn't sure exactly what he meant. The omnipresent should return you in peace. Return you where? So Asal Kamed Rabbi Elazar. He came to Rabbi Elazar, Amar lei, and he said to Rabbi Elazar what Rabbi Yochanan had said to him. And he said, Chas v'shalom dilma mirsach rosach. He said, God forbid, maybe he's angry with me. And that's why he said that. Amar lei. So Rabbi Elazar said to him, Mai Amar lach. So I guess he hadn't yet told him what he had said. He said, I'm afraid he's angry with me. So Rabbi Elazar said, what did he say to you? Amar lei, he said, Rabbi Asi said, Hamakom yachzircha l'shalom. He told me, God should return you in peace. Amar lei. So Rabbi Elazar said, V'im isa derosach, if he was really angry, lo hava mevarich lach, he wouldn't have given you a blessing. It's a blessing. He's not angry with you. Adahachi v'hachi shama le'arona dekaasi. Now at that time, he then heard that his mother's coffin was coming. Amar, he said, Iyadi lo nafki. He said, if I had known, I wouldn't have left Eretz Yisrael. It's not clear, I guess, if he had already left, or he hadn't yet. Maybe he went out to greet her, and it turned out that it wasn't her alive, it was her in her coffin. They were bringing her to bury her. It seems like, to me, that the story was that he heard that she was coming, he didn't realize she was coming, and she was no longer alive. She was being brought to be buried, and he went out to greet her, to give her honor. Turned out that she wasn't alive. Now, we're going to say in the Gemara soon that you need to honor your parents even after death, but perhaps not to leave Eretz Yisrael to do so. Therefore, he regretted that he left Eretz Yisrael to go greet the coffin. He should have waited for it to come. Okay, and now the Gemara talks about death. It says, Tana Rabban, and the rabbis taught, Mechabdo b'chayov u'mechabdo b'moso. One is required to honor one's parents in their lives while they're alive, and in his death. B'chayav ketzad. How does one honor his parent, his father, when his father is alive? So, obviously there's many ways, but one of the ways is as follows. Hanishma b'dvar aviv l'makom. Somebody is sent to a certain place by his father. the way Rashi says it here actually is, if a person is in a place and he knows that in this place they give his father lots of honor, if he would say things in his father's name, etc., so he shouldn't take credit for things on his own. He should give credit to his father. So it says if he's in a place and they respect his father, they will go Yomar Shalchuni b'shvilatmi. He shouldn't say, send me something for myself, or Maharuni b'shvilatmi, hurry up for myself. Patruni b'shvilatmi, let me go for himself. Ela kulu b'shvil Abba. It should all be for his father. Whatever he's doing, he should do it on behalf of his father. Bimoso ketzad. And what about when the father dies? How does he honor his father when his father dies? Haya omer davar shvua mipiv. If he is repeating over something that he had heard from his father, lo yomar kach amar Abba. He shouldn't just say, this is what my father said. Ela kach amar Abba Mari. Harini kaparis mishkavo. He should say, so said my father, my teacher, I should be an atonement for his death, I should be an atonement for him in death. So he should say that whole thing. Instead of just saying when he quotes his father, so said my father, he should say, so said my father, and part of the title of his father, this is not what he's quoting from his father. Part of the title is, so said my father, for whom I should be an atonement for him in death. That's how he should mention his father's name. However, the Gemara says that's within the first 12 months after his father's death. From then on, Omer, he should say, Zichrono livracho chayil haba. He should be remembered for blessing for Olam Haba. So it seems in that first year, maybe there's still an idea of getting more kapara, more atonement for the father, and after that, he should say, his memory should be a blessing, and for him to be in the world to come. Okay, the Gemara says, Tanu Rabbanan, the rabbis taught. Chacham mishana shem aviv v'shem rabbo. The chacham, the teacher, the Rebbe giving a drasha, should change his father's name and his Rebbe's name. But Turgaman, literally like the translator, but the announcer, what they would do in those days is they have somebody give the drasha, but he wouldn't have to raise his voice, so he would say over quietly the class to someone sitting next to him, and that person would belt it out so everybody could hear. So the one giving the class should change his father and his Rebbe's name, but the Maturgaman, the announcer, Eino Mishana lo shem aviv v'lo shem rabbo. He doesn't change his father's name or his Rebbe's name. So the Gemara says, Avua de man. Whose father are we talking about here? Ilem avua de Maturgaman. If we mean that the translator, the announcer shouldn't change his own father's name, Atu Turgaman lar lar chiyuvo, is he not obligated as well in honoring his father? A person shouldn't say their father's name. It's an honor to their father. They should say, my father. They should say, Abba. But they shouldn't say their father's first name. So the Brisa seems to say, the one giving the shir should change his father's name and his Rebbe's name. But the announcer doesn't have to change his father's name or his Rebbe's name. Gemara says, who's his own father's name? He doesn't have to change it. Why not? He's as obligated in honoring his father as anybody else. So the Gemara says, Ela Marava, Shem Aviv Shel Chacham v'Shem Rabo Shel Chacham. It means that the father of the teacher's name and the father of the Rebbe's name, he doesn't change. Meaning, the one giving the shir, he will say to the announcer, instead of saying his own father's name, he would say, my father, my Rebbe. But when the announcer says it, since it's not his own father, it's the Rebbe's father, he's allowed to say the name, and he should. That way everybody listening knows who we're talking about. The Gemara says, Ki hadamar bar Rav Ashi. Just like we find by Mar, the son of Rav Ashi. Ki abadarish bepirka, when he would give his drasha, his big shir, Iu amar Abba Mari. He would say, my father, my teacher. Ve'amore amar, and the Amora, the announcer, would say, Hachi amar Rav Ashi. So says Rav Ashi. So Mar, the son of Rav Ashi, wouldn't say his father's name. He would just say, so says my father, my teacher. And the announcer would say, so said Rav Ashi. So we have many different examples, great examples of how one is to honor their parents. Next week's Gemara gets more into the details of what's considered kibud, what's honor, what's considered mora, what's considered reverence to the parents. We'll pick up that in Mirz Hashem.